with the next past paper, I told you we're doing all of them today. Explain one reason why Brompton may use job production. What is job production? Well, as opposed to batch production and everything, it is making the goods by hand, essentially making goods one at a time and doing it like that. Well, I haven't read the extract. I probably have at some point in the past. I know Brompton make bikes, um, but doing it by hand probably gives them a unique selling point as they can adjust to consumer preferences. They can make it, improved quality. So you get all of those benefits there for the consumer. And so they can charge higher prices, and yeah, it's more innovative and stands out from competitors. It's a differentiation, and yeah, nice simple little form marker. Again, we're not doing calculations. I don't have the extract once again. So that's whether the distinctive capability of innovation is the main reason Bronson has a competitive advantage. Right, let's speed through this distinctive capability. Innovation is a major capability for them, right? Because it helps them sustain a competitive advantage. Um, and why would it matter? Well, oh, this is where I need the extract. I think they had a folding bike or something like that, one that like folded, and so it was easier to transport on like the metro or whatever. Metro, fucking hell. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that gives it a USP. So if the bikes fold, they can package quickly. They're designed specifically for the subway. And what do we say here in this country? We say London Underground, the tube, the tube. So the company improves the products and production processes and evolves the original design. Um, they can differentiate and charge premium prices. What else does innovation do? Well, it also creates a barrier to limitation because the design and engineering is difficult to replicate constantly if they're using job production and they've got this folding mechanism. It might not work on every single one. Um, it's complex, I guess. So, but a more important capability could be brand reputation. So they've got strong brand reputation, I guess, because of the handmade stuff, and I think they provide brilliant customer service. Um, and they trust the brand, or you could say architecture, the relationships and culture with the business. So like the training for the workers, to make the high product quality and get the consumer loyalty. So innovation is good because it gives it the whole design. It helps separate from competitors and stuff. But Brompton's, I would say long term, it's going to be brand reputation. Because if you can set up as like, oh, we're this premium brand, regardless of like differentiation from competitors, it just helps you stand out. Like, there's not the biggest difference in the world between Samsung and Apple, but Apple have developed their brand loyalty so much that people just want the Apple phones. So yeah, nice, nice, nice. I mean, look at the fashion. The fashion community is all about this, right? Like, what is the difference between a Laura Piana polo shirt and a Ralph Lauren polo shirt? It's made by hand, you know. It's the blah blah blah. That's the difference. Well, does it really justify a £600 increase in price? It's all about the exclusivity and the brand they built up, and that's why Laura Piana can do what they do. Yeah. Next up, I don't have the extract. Assess the effect on bottom sales for change in US dollar to the pound. I take it you know what this means. Whoopie deck. Oh my god. Spiced. We're gonna do both because I don't know which one it's gonna be. Wheat, pound, imports, deer, exports, sheep. Let's say it's this. Imports are dearer. Cost of raw materials could go up, right? So all of your cogs could be impacted there. Um, Exports cheap, more competitive, increase sales, increase profit, blah blah blah. Let's say it's spice now. Imports are cheap, lower cost, reduced price, more competitive. Exports are dear, less competitive. And that's basically it. Depends on what do they even export. How expensive is the product originally? So what's the susceptibility in PED? Nice and simple question. Moving on. Brompton has set itself the objective of expansion. It's considering two options, either organic or inorganic. Add this conk. Advantages of organic growth. So organic growth is where you grow organically. I don't really know how else to say it. Just by growing in terms of increasing sales and expanding without buying other businesses or doing something like that. The benefit is that you have no risk of rapid expansion really with organic growth. That's not a great benefit. There's no cost of buying any other businesses. Like the main one with inorganic is you're buying other stuff. You're not doing that. So you get to keep the core focus of the business. Maintain the control that you had. Um, so yeah. Whereas inorganic, you're buying someone, or you're working with someone, and you're going like that. But inorganic is great when you look at the different types. So like backwards vertical integration, for example, and horizontal integration can be really good because if you're buying your supplier or something like that who have just patented a technology that all the other bike companies are going to need, you now manage that supply. You can charge the price. So you're going to get economies of scale and stuff like that. But with organic, you still get all the benefits of inorganic, but it's just going to be reduced in terms of speed and stuff like that. So it's still good. But if I was them, what have they done before? Are they currently organically growing? Is it working? Have they tried inorganic before? You know, there might be something about that in the case study. What's their liquidity like? Are they going to have to raise finance if they want to inorganically grow? How would that work? Could they franchise? Would they lose the competitive factor that they have of, this brilliant reputation and customer service and sales? When they sell their products, they're high quality and they're providing this great service to the customer. Are they going to lose this when they inorganically grow by, or even organically, opening multiple stores? It's hard to still manage that, but the question isn't really about a limitation of organic and inorganic growth. Um, it's more about considering what's best for the objective of expansion. And in my opinion, I would say inorganic growth will achieve that the fastest. Um, but it's not the easiest to do. There's legal complexities. You have to get all the papers and, lots of stuff. So, next. Explain one problem Peloton exists due to rapid growth. Well, a problem with rapid growth, I don't know what happened to Peloton. I do know a little bit about Peloton. It's a fitness bike. Oh my god, it's both about bikes? It's stupid. That's a boring paper, isn't it? Um, uh, they blew up in COVID and then they got phased out. I think they have large amounts of debts and stuff like that. I don't think they're still doing very good, but they're in a lot of gyms actually. I think I don't know. So during periods of very fast expansion, which was caused by COVID, um, they had to increase how quickly they can produce and manufacture goods. If you see a massive surge in orders for the treadmills and the bikes or whatever, production has to scale quickly. And if capacity cannot keep pace with growth, then delays and shortages will occur, which can create loads of problems, like customers waiting for deliveries, and customer satisfaction will fall, and higher costs from hiring staff rapidly, and rapid expansion can damage efficiency and reputation and all sorts of stuff. Again, don't have the extract for the gross profit margin question. One effect of consumer protection legislation on Peloton. What consumer protection legislation could possibly fall in place here? I don't know. Maybe like quality control. Um, that's all I can think of really. Quality would be the protection legislation. I think so. Anyway, let's just go with it. Um, consumer protection legislation is ensuring that consumers' utility is maximized, ensuring that the business is compliant with the regulations and stuff. Putting the regulation in place is going to affect the business by it's going to probably increase their costs. Like I said, if it's a quality control sort of thing that they have to guarantee quality, then what could happen is that they're going to have to do total quality management or something like that, or they're going to have heavy investment in their production lines, be checking the quality of their goods, ensuring that they meet consumer needs and wants or whatever. This increases operating costs, it increases production costs, all of that sort of stuff. But also, if they don't follow it, they could be fined, and that would also be an increased cost, which could increase the price of the good. They might have to increase the price of the good, which could make it less competitive, and it could actually distort the price for consumers, and they would be unhappy with this. And so, the effect of the consumer protection legislation on the consumer wouldn't be very good, actually. But that's not what the question is asking. It's asking about Peloton, falling profits, may have to increase price, less competitive, lower market share, blah blah blah. Sorry. Yeah. Less competitive, lower market share. That's right. He's about to say more market share. I'm silly. The other effect is going to be that in the long run, everyone else has to follow the legislation. So it's not just affecting Peloton. The government, they don't make a law saying, "Hey, Peloton, you need to assure this to the consumers, but no other business in your market has to." That's fucked up. It might happen in Mauritania or something like that, but it doesn't happen here in the UK or the US. It applies to the market. It's a market protectionism consumer legislation. It's the CMA stepping in. It could be limiting expansion. It could be stopping them from buying another thing. All in all, it's just a bit of a head fuck for the company. That's all it is. It's an annoying. You've got to work around it. They could move their production away elsewhere if it's a labor issue, if it's like, oh, you have to offer more flexible working hours for staff, they could always move production abroad to get around it. But anyway, it's just that it's going to probably increase their costs. But like I said, if everyone has to follow a rule, then the effect of the rule isn't really that difficult, is it? So, everyone else has to do it. So that's what you'd say. 12 marker. Let's go. If I skip past it. I was going to say, we don't need all that space for it. Says whether cutting costs is the best way to improve Peloton's profits. Lovely. Lovely little question here. Yes, I think it is. Because, and then you say because, well, what's it going to do? If you cut costs, your profits are going to increase. Assuming that the demand and the sales and all other conditions for sales revenue remain ceteris paribus, yes, it will. There's many ways to cut costs. You could be cutting production costs, operation costs, labor costs. You could be selling off assets that you don't use in order to reduce your operating costs. You could be changing your supplier of packaging to something that's less economically sustainable and uses cheaper materials. You could be doing it in Xinjiang where you don't need to use efficient labor rights or something like that. There's loads of ways of cutting costs, but as long as fixed costs fall or average costs fall, then your profit is going to increase, assuming that sales remain how they do. Furthermore, cutting costs means they can reduce the price of their good, which means passing it on to the consumer. And let's say they're quite inelastic in the elastic in demand, price inelastic in demand, where a change in price leads to a more than proportionate change in quantity demanded, well, then a small change in price, let's say they cut costs by 12 pence per unit, and because of this, they can pass an 8 pence per unit decrease in price onto the consumer and keep the 4 pence per unit profit margin. But they're going to see a 1,000 um, unit increase in sales from this. Their total revenue is going to be 880 pounds extra gained from that sale by cutting the price by just 8 pence. So, they're going to be doing good. But it might not be. Because if we reduce the cost of the product, whilst it's good in theory, what does that mean? Well, let's look at it from each point. If we cut labor costs and we lay people off, or we use child labor, no, we can't do that. We don't use child labor in quotation marks, but we set up in Bangladesh with terrible product stores and everything like that. Well, yeah, our reputation could go down. And Peloton is marketed to a lot of middle class, wealthy people during COVID. And a lot of these people have the extra money where they'd rather just pay it than be associated with a company that has all these allegations against them. You're going to see more protests. You're going to see all of these groups saying, yo, we don't like that. If we cut production costs and we switch the materials, then we could see a falling quality of the good. So that wouldn't be great. That would dissatisfy consumers. And what happens? Well, I'm quite picky with stuff. If I spend a lot of money on clothes, for example. If I walked into Ralph Lauren and they said, "Oh, by the way, your shirts are going to last 3 times less, but it's £10 cheaper now. Instead of 90 quid a polo, it's 80 quid a polo. But after 2 months, it's going to have a hole in it," which, to be honest, they do. I would say I'm going to go to Tom Ford next door instead. Have Tommy Hilfiger next door instead. I'm going to go to Hugo Boss instead. And I take it elsewhere. And what would that mean? Well, not only would it impact profits, from a wider point of view, it would impact market share because you're going to rivals. And so you're directly feeding rivals with the market. And so that's long-term profits are going to be affected as well. And to get that back, you might have to increase your marketing budget and everything. And we're going out of control here. I feel like I've given you enough. I've given like 90 points. It's a 12 marker. Pick two of the things I said and add a boy. You know. Next up. Peloton's corporate strategy. CEO. But it doesn't even say chief executive officer. It just says chief executive. Has identified technology as the most important pestle factor to prioritize. Other directors consider prioritizing social factors as more important. Evaluate them, recommend which they should do when developing its future corporate strategy. I don't really like that because it doesn't give a direction of what they're trying to do. It might say in the extract they're trying to achieve the objective of profits or something like that, but it doesn't say here. What is the product? Well, it's an electronic bike, so focusing on tech would be pretty good. Focusing on social factors would be more important based on the market. Like I said, it's all these middle class people that are buying this. So the same people that buy Tony's chocolate. I love Tony's chocolate. It's my favorite chocolate bar. But I don't just buy it because I don't like Cadbury. It's not justifiable. It's now £4.20 a bar the other day. It's going up, and Cadbury's being a pound. I know that it's better for the environment. It's slightly healthier for you in some way or whatever. I don't know. It's actually because when you eat a square of Tony's chocolate, as opposed to Cadbury, it kind of fills you up and you can just put it back in the fridge. And it's really nice. Like, don't get me wrong, I could probably sit there and eat like a quarter of the bar. But you can just put it away and you're like, okay, that was nice, man. That was good. Whereas I could eat like 5 Cadbury bars. And that's why I'm pre-diabetic. All right, let's go. When reviewing the corporate strategy, technology should be prioritized, this guy said. Okay, why? Well, technology is the big business factor, the big pestle factor here, because it relies heavily on digital innovation. We just said they're electronic bikes. So it uses exercise equipment with software. It has the AI apps. It's got the screen with like Netflix and all of that on it. And so, oh, that's actually really interesting. Something I just thought of there. They, I imagine, would focus a lot on data analytics, like analyzing what you're doing on your workout and then collecting the data and then sending it back to you. So that's using that. Probably now we can talk about AI, um, wearable integration if they come up with like watches and stuff, app development. Um, that would be my data analytics point. And that could improve the customer experience and create differentiation. Um, for example, they could use like personalization or virtual training to increase engagement and subscription retention. So it might give them the competitive advantage because it's a very connected, or a very competitive market, the fitness market. And if you fail to innovate, then you become outdated, my friend. And so if Peloton invests in technology development, they could maintain the premium pricing if they're constantly developing, and it keeps customers within its ecosystem. But focusing on mainly technology has drawbacks because investment in R&D is expensive. New tech doesn't guarantee demand changes. It doesn't guarantee any consumer preference taste. Um, and technology only succeeds if the customers actually like it. Like I said about Apple and Samsung earlier. Social factors might be more important, other than just like the whole fancy smanchy economy and the plants and all that shit. I think you can talk about changes in lifestyle, like health consciousness and well-being. I mean, they're riding an electronic bike. They got to care about that. So social trends, like when people return to the gyms after COVID, they may see fall in demand. So understanding what would cause that change and understanding, you know, consumer attitudes could help them adapt products and marketing. So if they don't recognize the social shifts, could lead to poor strategic decisions over production, which is what happened for Peloton. That is exactly what happened. They didn't see, oh my god, people are buying 1,000 bikes a week right now. This is great. We're going to be the number one. And then the second the gym opened again, and the people haven't seen their friends in so long, and there's the social factor. If they developed where you could maybe FaceTime your friends on the bike and do all of that and interact with them, that might have helped them. So social trends is a major point. Um, what else? I don't know anything else to say. Um, you can't create social trends. You can only respond to them. So it's not really something you can control, but you can have good policies to control it. Do you understand? Like you can only respond to these things when they happen. You can't just say you can't know something's going to happen. You just have to be good at changing. Um, so investment in technology is probably better. So both are important, but I think they should probably prioritize the no. Let's do the social factors more because that's why they fail. But hey, picky for one. That was a nice paper, I think. Um, that one was a little bit iffy. I think you could still easily get 16, 18 out of 20 on that. Um, we spoke about this for like an hour, so 12 out of 12 I'm expecting. 10 out of 10 here. Get both of these right. What are we looking at? Like 95 marks out of 100 here, 93 marks out of 100. Just get it, guys. You got this. That's paper 2. Done.